Boom, hey internets, let's talk about designing snapbacks. If you just clicked on this and you're not subscribed or have no idea who I am, clothing brand mentor John Phenom. Been working professionally in fashion and apparel development since 2000. So whenever you're watching this, just do the math. Worked for several multi-million-dollar brands in capacity from apparel designer all the way through creative director. I want to answer this in 3 ways in this day and age. So the first one is pretty self-explanatory. If you're gonna be designing with a third-party vendor, you might want to just go straight to their site and see what they have available. So what I'm talking about is Printify, Printful, Teespring, and there's gonna be a myriad of companies in the next several years that emerge that will produce the design for you at order. So it can be no minimums. And so embroidery for hats is definitely a service that has folded into one of these third-party vendors. I would see what they have available. A lot of times, all you would need is probably a PNG of the graphic that you want on the hat, and you probably have sort of an image generator to use. Some of them might have a design feature where you have a font you can work with to put across the crown of the hat in the limited places where you can put embroidery. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Number 2 and 3 are going to be kind of industry standards. So number 2, we're going to be talking about delving into Adobe Illustrator. Illustrator is the main program that all designers use to render images via vector. And so this actually has to do with more actual design, right? So I've subdivided 2 and 3 by number 2 is if you're still using a blank. So that means like a two-tone hat. So you're using Yupong, also better known as Flex Fit. You're doing a Flex Fit blank. Now that's not the only hat blank company, but is pretty predominant when it comes to blanks for baseball caps. I mean, they have other kinds, but it's pretty popular for a flat bill snapback, unstructured, or a dad hat. Also two-tone. Also they have Flex Fit, hence the name Flex Fit for the cap, where it looks like a fitted cap, but the back has flex to it, so it can have the appearance of a Flex Fit, but I think it's available in 3 sizes. So for all of your sports clubs or anyone that's not doing anything too crazy with the actual body of the hat, then you would use a blank. And in that situation, you can still use, or I would still use, Adobe Illustrator to put the design in a vector format and kind of position it where you want on the hat, and then you can deliver that file to an embroiderer. Also, having that file available is really good reference if you do use a third party, as I said in option number 1, just so you know exactly what the design is that you want to look like. So if they have specifications that can't accommodate that, you can adjust it as needed via what is available via their way of producing if it's a third-party vendor. The more traditional way, this second way that I'm talking about, is dealing with an embroidery company. So a lot of silkscreen companies either partner or have embroidery in-house. We used to offer the service when I owned a high-volume screen printing shop, and so we would order blanks and then embroider on top of it. It's basically putting the design of where you want the embroidery put, and also calling out different things like the colors, the Pantone color thread, or just the color of the thread, and then you can kind of put a representation of it on the Illustrator file, which is why we use more exact programs such as Adobe Illustrator. The third is a variation, also using Adobe Illustrator. This is if you want a completely custom baseball cap. So that's inclusive of all the types of hats that I just mentioned. So whether it's a 5-panel or a cadet hat, some people call it, fitted baseball cap, snapback baseball cap, all of the aforementioned. And so doing a custom hat is 100% made. So cut and sew would be a production cap. I believe there's some facilities here, but by and large, all of my experience is doing that overseas, and there'll be minimums like 100 pieces. Actually, for hats, I think you might be able to get them down now to 60 pieces, and obviously the unit cost rises, but it still ends up being very comparable to a production done here in the US. You just have to pay for that big lump sum up front. So the examples you saw on this video are from a template that I created and have for purchase over at CBA, which is clothingbrandacademy.com. Should you want to purchase that to get right to designing, you can go check it out and see what it features. It's pretty comprehensive. I actually have videos specifically breaking down the tech pack and how I've layered it. Any designer worth his salt should be able to maneuver through the different layers and the different notes that I have. It really is almost like a recipe or a how-to in terms of best practices for creating a clean design for a snapback. So check that out when you have a chance. I hope this video did give you some help either way. If you guys have any other questions about this or anything with launching a clothing line, please drop it all down below. Follow me on social media when you get a chance. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.